No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Health Discoveries with Team TDW. And this is going to be episode number 2, where we're going to be talking about what to do once you've been diagnosed with mold, once we know that you have mold in your body. And again, I'm Dr. Jack Wolfson, board certified cardiologist. Welcome to our live episode number 2. And today, of course, I've got with me my health coaches, Carrington Beauchamp and Ashley Swanson. Hello, ladies.
Good morning. Hi.
All right. So I want to start off. Carrington, tell me one healthy thing that you did this weekend so the whole audience gets to know about it.
Well, I've been practicing a lot of fasting lately in my diet. So I did a whole day of fasting over the weekend and it was great. It was easy. I'm really enjoying it. A lot of energy coming from fasting days. So like starting to look forward to them now.
So was this a water fast or a juice fast or a dry fast? What'd you do?
Water and tea and just kept it simple. So yeah, it was great. I've been doing them a couple times a week, but I like doing it over the weekends and just getting a lot done and not having to worry about eating. Takes a lot of I don't have to think about cooking or preparing anything. It's kind of nice.
I know, but then what happens with the rest of the family? They're all like,
I know,
"Ma,
I still have to cook for them." Yeah, so I have to try to not be like mama-vore and eat all my kids' food. But
right.
Actually not too bad. I'm not hungry, so.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. When I do fasting in the house, Heather's kind of like, "Hey, what's going on over here? We're starving and we need some food." And I'm usually the cook in the house as well. So, you know, when I fast, everybody's kind of struggling a little bit. So fantastic.
Yeah.
And anybody out there who wants guidance on fasting, of course, there's a lot of information on the internet, but if you want some one-on-one handheld, the best thing to do is to kind of get an intro call with one of our coaches at the doctors, Wolfson and Carrington, Ashley. They can help talk to you about kind of guiding you through that process. So you got this expert in your corner who's been there, done that, and then of course talked to hundreds of patients and hundreds of people that have been through that. Ashley, tell me what's going on with you. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. I got some vitamin D, some sunshine. So I try to do that about 30 minutes to an hour each day. And then I've been doing intermittent fasting. So Carrington's been doing the full day fast, but I've been doing kind of the 16-8 method. So stop eating at 8 and then resume again at noon. And that's pretty easy to implement every day.
So what you're doing is, you're skipping breakfast and of course, like you said, in that period where you are going 16 off, that allows your body to digest the food that you took in and then start to really repair. So it's not, your body's not always in this constantly being fed state, right?
Right. It can work to heal all the other things that are going on in your body, all the other biochemical processes that need to occur.
Love it. Love it. I mean, me personally, I think the way that you do the intermittent fasting is probably the most common way people are doing it. Me personally, I like to skip dinner because I'm a breakfast person. I do like morning coffee. So what I'll do is that my last meal will be lunch, and then I'll get that 16 hours because I'll skip dinner and then get into breakfast. And typically for me and most people, I think dinner is really that time where we really just overeat.
Right, all those cravings.
Sugar. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's actually brand new research out to show that from circadian rhythm and fasting that it's actually better to have your meals like more of like a breakfast and a lunch and skip. And that timing matters. I mean, for a lot of people, it's still working for them to fast for breakfast and things like that. So I wouldn't ever discourage that. But if someone's trying to optimize their, fasting schedule and trying to hit new levels of health, the latest research is showing pushing it back earlier in the day is actually better for us.
Good deal. So, certainly once again, if you're out there and you're interested, and I'll have Ashley put this into the comments section, so you have the ability to schedule that free coaching call with one of our health transformation fasting expert, guru, health coaches to kind of help guide you through whatever your issues are. But certainly if you're interested in intermittent fasting, we can talk to you about that. Okay, let's get back into why we're here for episode number 2. I want to recap episode number 1 real quick, because episode number 1, we said that your symptoms, no matter what they are, it turns out they may be from mold exposure in your house, in your workplace, in your car. We talked about how it could be in your CPAP breathing apparatus. If you use that anywhere where there's water that is stagnant, you can get mold. So we talked about, are you being exposed to mold? These are the possible sources. And then we talked about, this is the test that you need to get done from Vibrant Wellness. And Ashley will also put that into the comments so you can get that mold mycotoxin test done. Real simple. You order it, we send you the urine kit, you collect a urine sample, you send it into the company, and then you get the results. When you purchase that through us, you also get a coaching call to go over the results with you. And today, if you use the code MOLD, when you order the test on our website, and again, Ashley will put in a link. If you use that code, you get $50 off the test, and the code is MOLD, M-O-L-D, MOLD. Very clever. Cool. Okay, so now you have the results that say that you have mold. What are we going to do about it? Because back in the old days, of course, it would be, before you can even test whether or not you had it, we would say your symptoms sound like could be from mold, get an inspector, tear up your house. Carrington, do we need, what do we do as far as our personal environment once we discover we have mold in our bodies?
Well, the very first thing you want to do is get the mold out of your living environment, right? So that's going to take some testing. And this is the challenging part. This is kind of the part where people have to kind of face the stress of it, because it might mean leaving your living situation, getting rid of things in your home. This is kind of like where you need support from friends and family as you face these kinds of things. But the very first thing is to find someone to test your home. And a lot of people turn to remediation companies. Like if you had a flood, they come in and they clean it up and they offer mold testing. But the testing they do is very limited because there's mold spores that move around, and just testing in a snapshot is not going to give you a full test. So you need to find environmental specialists that specialize in this for mold toxicity and things like that. They will do extended tests where they test throughout your home for an extended amount of time, collecting mold spores. They will get behind a wall or under a carpeting or wherever they suspect that there's kind of a hot spot, and they will do a full thing. So if you've had a remediation company come out and do just a little quick test and say, nope, you're good, and then you're coming back with all this mold positive stuff, know that there are much more extensive tests out there. We recommend using, there's a society, it's called the International Society for Environmentally Acquired Illness. So the website is, we can link it in here, but it's ISEAI.org. And this website just gives you a great sort of database for essentially, did I leave when I clicked out of that? Just making sure.
No, you're good. You're good.
This gives you a database to find environmental specialists near you all around the country. So they will help you really get to the root cause of what's going on in the home and where the hot spots are and how to get tested.
All right, fantastic. And what I tell people is when we get the results back and it says you've got these certain mold mycotoxins, And then, talk to the company who's going to be doing the inspection and show them the results of that. Or even in your initial inquiry call, say, listen, I've got these mold mycotoxins. I need you to find them, and then we need to get rid of them. So we'll need to do that. And again, I think also is that ask for references from that company. And then, speak to, maybe I think there's a lot of online support groups as well, as maybe you can get some help. But like you said, that website is a great resource. But do your research on the company, because this is a big deal. Because number one, they have to be familiar. I think they need to be familiar with the symptoms of mold toxicity. Like they really believe that your sickness, or they understand that your sickness can be tied into the mold. And then they want to be really diligent about going in to find it. And then the whole remediation part is, listen, this is, this can get expensive. It can also be an issue if people are trying to sell their house. We've talked to people with that, where they're like, hey, I don't want to go looking for mold because I'm going to go sell my house and then I got to declare it. Once again, that's kind of the business side of things. We're talking about the health side of things, and we're talking about health recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you've got once you find the source of the mold and you start to remediate the mold, we're going to talk about where you go next as far as detoxification and really what this whole thing is about. We're going to talk about finding the source of mold in your house, what to do about air quality, and then what to do about getting the mold out of your body. But Ashley, I want to ask you, what are really some of those main food sources of mold that we need to worry about? Because it's not just from the environment that we're getting mold. Some of these mycotoxins are from the food. And we can also basically, the results tell us that it's either from food, or it's from the environment, or it's mold, depending on what the mycotoxin is. But Ashley, tell us about the food sources.
Yeah. And that's a good point. It's like you think of all the mycotoxins or mold toxins in homes, but, everyday things that you're doing, you're eating. And a lot of those exposures to mycotoxins could be coming from the foods you're eating. So there's kind of like a top list that you can think of when it comes to foods that have these mycotoxins in high enough levels that studies have been done and they now show risk for contamination. So whole grains are really the first and foremost kind of source of mycotoxins. Aflatoxin is the harshest mycotoxin and the most studied present in grains. Again, the grains can either be held in a condition that is moist and humid and they get that kind of mycotoxin on them, or they can be contaminated from other sources. Peanuts and pistachios, Brazil nuts, all those nuts are also huge sources of mycotoxins. So something to be aware of when you're picking out foods at the grocery store, going to the bulk bins, thinking about the fact that these are really predominant with mycotoxins. Dried fruits are another one that people don't think of. So a study was done where they looked at dried fruits in Spain, and they found that over 83% of samples of like dried figs and 80% of raisins had high enough levels that were measurable of those mycotoxins. So huge exposures are happening with that. Dried cured meats are another, hard cheeses, another. Again, those mycotoxins are either from improper storage, so they were held improperly and they got mold growth and then mycotoxin production, or they can be from the foods that they were fed that were contaminated with those toxins. Spices are a huge one. So those are cultivated in tropical, subtropical, humid regions. And so they're really at risk for mycotoxin development. So again, you can think about sourcing from proper quality standard kind of companies when you get your spices, and then holding them in dark places that are free from moisture, and then held in like airtight containers. So just thinking about not just, the risk, but also if you do get these foods, to store them properly and eliminate any sort of development when you bring that product home. And then just coffee. Coffee, again, we talked about last episode. That's a huge source of mycotoxins. Most all the coffees on the market have mold toxins in them. So we want you to get organic from a reputable company. We like Purity Coffee. They also have the highest level of antioxidants in there, so really protective. But get a quality organic coffee and then grind it fresh daily to prevent any sort of mold exposure, mold growth as well. And then the last one would be alcohol. So people don't always think about that, but alcohol. So alcohol producers actually get they get all the grains that were unfit for consumption. So they get grains that have mycotoxins in them. They know about it, but they didn't want to put it in the food production. So now distilleries take that and they create alcohol products. A study came out in 2015 that, the subtitle was just basically drinking a lot of beer will expose you to mycotoxins. So it's a significant source. Another study actually looked at wine around the world, and they found that on over 6 continents, there's just a widespread amount of mycotoxins present in wine as well. So your alcohol is a huge source.
So what do you think about, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but I guess hard alcohol, if I think about vodka, tequila, whiskey, my thought is that fungus won't be allowed to grow in those things. It's so high in alcohol content, and alcohol is such a disinfectant that things probably aren't going to be growing in those cultures.
Exactly, yeah. So wine and beer are more at risk. You've got your predominant contaminated grains in beer, and then wine is a high sugar fermentable type of product. So, kind of fuel for those toxins.
Okay. And then I think also back to the spices. I mean, you and I, we've wrote posts on 10 heart healthy spices and then another 10 heart healthy spices. So we talk about all of the health benefits of the spices, including how spices help to detoxify mold, yet we could be intoxicating ourselves from mold from the spices.
Exactly. Yep.
So what do you think is a good rule of thumb for the spices? I guess if you were just going to store them, I mean, most people, of course, do not refrigerate the spices. They store them in a cabinet. Do you think it's like 3 months? Do you think it's 6 months? These people that have them laying around for years, do spices come with end dates or expiration dates, and should they?
Yeah. Well, so getting back to first sourcing them properly and then holding them properly. I mean, we like fresh spices and herbs, obviously, keeping those in the fridge. The dried ones, airtight containers. A lot of people are putting them in like mason jars and stuff, but we just want to keep them in their original container, keep that lid sealed, dark environment, airtight. Ideally you'd be replacing them probably every year or 2 years, but just kind of making sure that they're held properly and avoiding.
If you're using them and cooking with them, then they go fast.
That's the point too. We want you using them. Yep.
Yeah, most certainly. And one of my favorite hacks, as far as anything is concerned, any health issue, is using fresh black cumin seed. So you can buy the seeds, grind them up freshly in a coffee grinder. They don't go in the blender because they're so small, and then grinding up and using those fresh. And I think, Carrington, to your point is that, hey, if you're not using the spices, a particular spice so frequently that you're not going through that container at, the 3 to 6 month point, maybe that spice isn't for you, and don't be buying that spice. Keep your spices to a basic, have the oregano, the thyme, the cumin that are there. And then some of the more exotic ones, maybe they're not for you. So, but good. Okay. So Carrington, tell me, so now you've got the mold in your house, and maybe you're going to hire an inspector, which we definitely recommend. But until you do, or while you're doing it, and even during the mold mitigation or removal process, you have to have the best quality air purifier in your house, or 2 or 3 air purifiers, to make sure that your air is pure, and something that really gets all of those mold mycotoxins out of the air so you can breathe easier, detox easier, and you're not intoxicating yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to explain a little bit first for people, because I think when they think of mold, they think of just the black mold on the shower tile, and they're not understanding that there is mold spores in the air. So these are tiny little things that are invisible to the eye that travel through the air. We in Arizona have these big storms like haboobs where air, things can come in from our environment from outside, or and these spores are hardy. Like they can survive areas where mold can't survive, dry and hot and things like that. And so they will just keep traveling through the air until they land and find moisture. And then once they find moisture, they can grow and duplicate. And so when people think, well, I don't think I have mold in my house. Why do I need an air purifier? Well, mold spores are always sort of traveling. And the air purifiers, a really, really good one, like the one we recommend is called Austin Air, has a really powerful HEPA air filter, and it's going to grab those mold spores and they will die within the air purifier, and it keeps your air clean. And so you're not at risk for, first of all, inhaling those spores, but also for them to find moisture and duplicate. So even if you live in a dry environment and you think mold's not going to survive here, mold spores can travel in and maybe they'll land in an area where you have a lot of moisture, like your sponge at your sink or your plants that you just watered or things like that. And so it's really critical that we improve the quality of air in our home. That's where we're spending the most time. That's where we sleep. I always recommend the very first one you buy goes in your bedroom. We're not 8 hours in our living room, but we are 8 hours in our bedroom. So to start there and to keep adding on, and these will grab those mold spores that are surviving in any environment and make it so nothing is duplicating and nothing is growing in your home.
Let me ask you this, Carrington, once again, because those mold mycotoxins and the spores and all these things that are released from the mold, now they're out into the air. But then, of course, from the air, they get all over on the furniture, they get all over on the clothes. Yes. So now we're really starting. And let me say this: is that
you can't see them; they're not.
And you can't see them. And
yeah.
You may, the person out there may be having a lot of symptoms from this, and therefore they may be much more ready to say, you know what, I've got brain fog, I've got fatigue, I have a lot of weight gain, I've got fertility issues. You may have a lot of pain points, and because of that, you may say, I'm going to really go after this. I'm going to, I'm going to get tested for mold. I'm going to then find where the mold is coming from. I'm going to make sure that my air is pure. Then where do you go as far as your furniture, your clothing? Carrington, maybe tell me some words about like a HEPA vacuum, ways to really kind of clean up your environment without having to ditch everything. And in some cases, we've heard of people, of course, where they have to start from scratch. Scary stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was mentioning before, where this is like maybe you need the support of a coach, because it is hard to go through. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, because sometimes it's so bad you have to get rid of stuff because those spores are sort of everywhere. So if you come back with a high level of toxicity, you get tested, it's all over the home. You move all of your furnishings and things, like there is mold that can, I think I wrote this down, it's called, I'm not going to say this right, but Stachybotrys. But it grows on household surfaces. So like that have high cellulose content. So like wood and fiber boards and things like that. And so like if you have a bunch of old vintage furniture and a really porous cellulose kind of woods and dust, a high amount of dust. So older homes, older furniture, all of that. And you come back positive with mold, there's maybe with some water damage. Those items are going to be have a lot of spores on them that are surviving. And so if you move and you just take everything you own with you, you could be potentially taking all those mold spores with you. And so this is kind of where it gets a little gray. How much do you do? How much do you not do? Where do you just throw everything out? But I think you definitely start with finding the hot spot in the house, finding the source of the mold, having it remediated. and maybe in those areas where there were the hot spots, to look at the porous kind of furniture around those areas in specific. And then to get these Austin air filters, they have wheels so you can move them, but to try to get them in different parts of your homes. But I've had patients that have had to completely redo their whole duct system, or completely remove certain parts of their homes or things like that. It becomes a huge challenge. But for most people, remediation will getting rid of things in the immediate hotspot area and adding these really good filters in those areas, and then vacuuming any kind of furniture in those areas.
And I would say
carpet,
that
absolutely removing carpet from all areas, because it will just hold all those spores.
Yeah, carpet, certainly for a million different reasons, right? People should remove carpet, but I think that I think the general strategy for most people is going to be just like you said. Get tested, and now that you have mold, find the source of mold, get rid of that source of mold, get quality air, and then I think a good strategy, if the person's starting to feel better, is just to retest it 90 days. And if the mycotoxins have gone into the normal limits, or if things look markedly better, then maybe we can go along with that. And that's where working with a health coach, or even working with myself, really we can kind of guide you along that pathway as far as what you need to do individually, as opposed to throwing out all of your clothes and all of your furniture. Get retested. The numbers are coming down. We're looking good. And then of course, we'll dial into a good supplements protocol to help you. But Ashley, let me throw it to you. What are the foods? I mean, because listen, you're the master's in nutrition from Iowa State. What are the best foods that people can consume for mold detoxification?
Yeah, well, first off, you can think of foods that are just naturally detoxifying for the liver. So we're going to use a lot of the same ones. But first of all, just start out by eliminating those high-risk mold foods. Like we mentioned earlier, all of those grains and hard cheeses and things like that, or just sourcing them properly. And then second of all, we do recommend just jumping onto a paleo diet that is kind of just like a naturally beneficial diet for protection of all sorts of diseases, but it's going to be, naturally rid of most grains. It's going to be low in sugar. It's going to eliminate alcohol. So we've kind of got a good diet going on there. And then you can think about adding in those nutritionally therapeutic foods that are going to help to kind of push out those mycotoxins. We like ginger. Ginger root is widely detoxifying. It boosts circulation. It stimulates immunity, pushes things through your body. Radishes. So a study was done recently looking at compounds in radishes that are actually able to annihilate mold toxins. So radishes are great. Garlic, just in general, is naturally antifungal and protective. Spices, so cilantro and thyme and oregano are really going to be your most antifungal spices. I mean, there's a bunch of other detoxifying foods out there, but these are just some of our favorites that there's actually a lot of evidence for as well. And then black walnuts, black cumin seed oil too, like you mentioned earlier, are all naturally antifungal. So you can think about putting these on foods, making juices. Juices are really the best way to extract those nutrients. And then spices, so cinnamon and turmeric are really the best spices with the most kind of evidence for destroying mycotoxins in the body. And then dark leafy greens, so eating those every day, spinach, arugula, kale, those are potent liver detoxifiers, and they also have compounds in there that boost up glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant and kind of instructor of the body to get things out.
Fantastic. Okay, so essentially following the paleo diet, when you're eating fresh meat, when you're eating fresh seafood, when you're eating kind of new nuts, seeds, eggs, of course, are a great source of sulfur and glutathione boosting, as you mentioned. Eating all those healthy paleo foods are really going to get you on your way to getting rid of the mold. Now, when it comes to detoxification, certainly, Ashley, we know that the bowels are very important and making sure that you're having a good bowel movement 1, 2, 3 times a day. But tell me about the importance of water and water quality and your favorite water for detox.
Yeah, so water is widely beneficial to kind of go hand in hand with, detoxifying the body. It's also just necessary for everyday health. We like Pristine Hydro. So Pristine Hydro out of California. It was created by someone who got, sick, and they created it. And it's really the most kind of advanced water system there is. There's 10 stages of filtration. So it's removing every kind of toxin, the smallest toxin there is, the smallest contaminant, and then it remineralizes it, and it runs it over stones that actually simulate kind of the electrical properties of a living stream. So why that's beneficial is that it's getting that water into our cells where it belongs. Same with nutrients. We want water to get into our cells, detoxify, and then move things or flush things through the body. So drinking enough water and quality water is really imperative to detoxification.
Love it. And of course, we do love the Pristine Hydro. We'll put the link into our system, into our Facebook Live here. We've got a lot of people that have got the Pristine Hydro system, through us, and everybody loved it. Not one negative comment so far. Carrington, tell me about skin, and specifically sauna, about detoxifying some of the toxins out through our skin with an infrared sauna.
Yeah, I'd love to. This is like one of my favorite topics, and I'm definitely convinced that this is the #1 way to detox from mold. Consistent use of a far infrared sauna. And I don't say that lightly, because there are a lot of things that help with mold detoxification, but sauna, the technology now is absolutely incredible. And so for those that aren't familiar with far infrared, it's different from, say, the sauna you would get at the gym, like a steam sauna. That is heating ambient air. And so your lungs get hot. It's kind of hard to tolerate, especially anyone with a lot of autoimmune or sensitivity or mold toxicity going on. It can be hard to tolerate. Far infrared is different. It's using light that is penetrating about 3 inches deep into the body, all the way to the organs where metals and mycotoxins and things have settled, and it's drawing it out. So it is heating core body temperature. So it's different. It's like the difference of being outside on 110 degrees in Phoenix, or so we are inducing body heat from the inside out versus outside in. And when we can do that, we are pulling toxins out, and the body uses the skin to detox them out. So traditionally, when they measure sweat and things, toxins in your sweat when you're working out, which is still really good, moving your lymphatic system, definitely part of our mold protocol. But when you're sweating from the sauna, it goes from about 15% of your sweat is heavy metals and mycotoxins to about 80% of your sweat. It got pulled out so deeply, and then it induces a very intense sweat. So if anyone's out there and they're like, I don't even sweat, I work out, I can't do it, I'm just not sweating very much, you need to get into a far infrared sauna. It will pull those mycotoxins out, and it will pull heavy metals out and other toxins, and you sweat a lot. So it doesn't matter if you feel like that part of you is broken or it's not working, far infrared will work, and it's incredibly effective. And so what's challenging about it is finding one near you, because most of them are steam saunas and stuff. Our favorite company, Sunlighten, developed a system called the Solo system, which I love. It kind of looks like a yoga mat where you have a dome over you and you just pull it up. Then your face is out of it, your head is out of it. So anyone that's really struggles with overheating or being too hot, or it's really sensitive from being mold sick and things like that, it's an awesome solution. You can have it in your home. You don't have to build out a whole wood box on your patio or in your bedroom or something. It can go anywhere. And it has just as many lights and is just as effective as their 2-person box. And then what I love about it is that you can do it consistently multiple times a week. So we're heating up parasites, viruses, bacteria. Once you have mold toxicity, you often have tons of co-infections because the mycotoxins are just wreaking havoc, and you don't even know where to start. So bacterial infections, fungal overgrowth, thyroid disease, all this stuff starts happening. And so far infrared basically heats that up and intensifies an already intelligent immune response, which is a fever. So we're creating that and killing off cancer cells, the mycotoxins, all of it. So if you can get into a far infrared sauna for about at least 30 minutes, 3 times a week, and using a couple other supplements and antioxidants that will help in the way, it's by far, I think, the most effective treatment.
Excellent. So, and we'll have Ashley put the link to the sauna that we recommend. She'll put that into the notes here as well. And then also somebody asked about the test that we use, and we'll have Ashley put that in there as well. Of course, you can go to our shop page and purchase it right there by looking for Vibrant Mold Mycotoxin Test. It's a urine kit. We send it out to you, and use the code MOLD at checkout, and you'll get $50 off the purchase of that. And then, of course, somebody is asking, and somebody made a comment, when you have mold, you need a binder. So let's talk about the best supplements that we can use to phase 1, phase 2, liver detoxify, and then what we would call phase 3, which is the binder to bind it all up in the gut so you poop it out the other side. Carrington, let me go back to you and tell us about what you think some of the best supplement strategies are, and kind of what we have and what we created called Daily Defense, which is your daily defense against mold and other environmental toxins.
Yeah, and what I love about this product is that, so when you start to get into research on mold detoxification, you can get easily overwhelmed by like how many things you might want to put yourself on. Like there are so many supplements, so many claims, so many things. It starts to get really expensive, especially if you're wanting to buy air purifiers and a sauna and a water system and all these things. And so to simplify it, Dr. Wolfson, you've created such an amazing product. I love using this product because it covers so many bases. So what I would normally be putting someone on, first off, is just a multivitamin, because as you're detoxing, your adrenals get really kind of strained from that. And so you need a ton of micronutrients and support. And so in the Daily Defense is like a multivitamin, multimineral. You don't have to take something extra. We're covering the base there. And then what it also is a whey protein, and whey is usually well tolerated, even with people with dairy sensitivity. They're sensitive to, they don't have lactose to break it down, or they're sensitive to the casein. Most whey is well tolerated. This is grass-fed New Zealand whey. And whey has been proven in multiple studies to massively upregulate glutathione, that master antioxidant that Ashley was talking about. There are also things in the Daily Defense Shake that upregulate phase 1 and phase 2 of liver detoxification. So phase 1 is that pulling of those mycotoxins out of the body, just like the sauna is doing. Phase 2 is all of the antioxidants needed to convert that, so there's not a bunch of free radicals and the body can get rid of it, and you're not inflamed. And then phase 3 is what's called the catch. So once the gut drops those toxins for removal, you want to make sure the bowels are moving, and you want to have something to bind to them and grab them. So in Daily Defense, there are phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxifiers and antioxidants. And there is also a catch. There's psyllium husk and fiber in that to grab it. So, and it tastes really good. Like we have patients that get the chocolate and they just add hot water in the morning and call it hot chocolate. Or you can make a shake with it. But that's usually the biggest complaint with these kinds of things is like, well, okay, fine, but it tastes disgusting. This one tastes so good that you'll look forward to it every day. And it's just extremely beneficial for mold detoxification.
Love it, love it, love it. So once again, so we created Daily Defense for mold detoxification. Really, it works so well. We're getting fantastic results. It's got digestive enzymes in there. It's got probiotics in there. It's got the multivitamin that's in there as well. So if there's really just one supplement you took, we really think it is Daily Defense. It's got 1 gram of sugar. It is sweetened with monk fruit extract. There's no stevia. Of course, nothing artificial. beneficial. We mentioned that the binders in there, and the binder is an organic psyllium husk, because you have to watch where those binders come from. You know, once again, some of those psyllium husks can be heavily sprayed with pesticides. Our product, of course, is not. It is certified organic. So, Ashley, give me another quick tip of what people do with the Daily Defense, because Daily Defense doesn't have a good source of fat, because fat can oxidize, become rancid very easy. I didn't want to put a lot of fat into the product. Tell me maybe some good sources of fat we can add to Daily Defense, put it into a shaker bottle or put it in a blender, and that's a meal. It's a phenomenal snack. It tastes great. Give me good fats.
Yeah, well, one of the favorite things that our patients like to do is put kind of like a half an avocado in there, use the vanilla flavored Daily Defense, throw some berries in there, and you've got a tasty shake. You can put coconut oil in the chocolate one, or MCT oil, and that is really delicious as well. So just kind of playing around with that and adding some fat in there, and it's a complete meal. You've got protein in there, but then you need to throw some fat, and now you've got a meal. One of the things I did want to mention too about the Daily Defense is it has those probiotics in there. And so those are actually, like, a study actually just came out, I was reading, but they show that they compete with the mycotoxins. So it can actually push like the aflatoxin out of the body as well, and really kind of lower immunotoxicity effects. So it's mediating the immune response too. So Daily Defense, best product for preventing any disease, but especially applicable here with the mycotoxins.
Love it. Love it.
Can I mention one more thing? Okay, I was just saying that in addition to the Daily Defense, a binder that I would recommend to add to it, and more specifically with your sauna protocol, is to do our superfood, which is a spirulina and chlorella, a very, very pure, safe form of it in a glass bottle, clean product instead of ones that could have mold or something on them. And to take this before you get into the sauna to help bind and pull those mycotoxins. But that's a really effective strategy with this added to the Daily Defense. So I would always usually try to, like, say you wake up in the morning, take a little bit of the superfood before you get into the sauna, a lot of water, get in, do the sauna afterwards, have, shower off, wipe off those, first wipe off with a towel after getting off the sauna, shower it off. You want to get those toxins off of your body. Have your Daily Defense shake with all the antioxidants after, and a lot of water with electrolytes in it to replenish what just came out of the sauna. But doing that a few times a week, and then the products daily, is very effective.
Love it, love it, love it. The Doctors Wolfson Health Coaches, there they are. Absolutely fantastic information. Just listening to you two brilliant women with such experience, such education, and we're offering the ability to work with you guys for the first consultation is totally free. So, and
come talk to us.
Exactly. Like, these women are really excited to talk to you, and really just great information. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. Of course, if you like this episode, tell other people about it, share it with your people, tag people on Facebook so they get to hear this information, because a lot of people are sick out there, and the only way we're going to make a difference is by sharing this information and letting people know there is an alternative to their medical doctor who is just going to try and cover up these symptoms and say that you're crazy. So they're going to put you on Prozac, they're going to put you on Celexa, they're going to put you on some kind of mind-numbing pharmaceutical to help try to cover up symptoms. It's not going to work. And this is why people are addicted to narcotics. This is why people are addicted to alcohol. This is why people are addicted to sugar. They're trying to cover up the pain from what may be in their environment, and that could be mold. So thank you so much for listening to this episode with Health Discoveries with Team TDW. We're going to be consistent with this. We're going to be here every single Monday morning at the same time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with Team TDW health coaches. We're going to bring in some guests. We're open to your questions. We're open to what you want to hear from us about. And until then, we will see you next week. We're going to put this episode up on YouTube. Every episode will be up on YouTube over on our channel at The Doctor's Wolfson. So thank you again for watching this episode. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.